Hey everybody, Tony here. It's a beautiful day in Columbus, Ohio. However, this weekend I didn't get a chance to get outdoors. My buddy Tim's waiting on a kayak to come in. It's been about 4 weeks now waiting for it to come in. So we kind of held off this weekend. But in the meantime, as I ran to Costco, I had to grab some things for the upcoming week's groceries. And while I was there, spontaneously picked up something that kind of inspired me for this video here today. And that's actually on sleep options for when you're in the outdoors. So I hope you enjoy what I have. And I'm just going to share a few things with you, some of the things I have, and give you a few of my thoughts on it. All right, guys, what I've got behind me here over my shoulders, just a few of the things that I brought up from my basement that I use whenever I'm outdoors. So there's a variety of things here. One of the things I like to stress is that I didn't spend a lot of money on these. I've been able to get them off of Amazon and some different sources, but you can upgrade. I'm kind of given just more or less the idea of the type of sleep options that you have, but obviously depending on the depth of your wallet and your income, you can spend as much as you want. But over here is just because I like to have a few more options and also be a little budget friendly. I didn't spend too much on these, so let me kind of share what I've got and kind of what's going on. All right, what I've got in front of me here are just a few different options here. I've got some different types of sleeping bags, some blanket options, as well as some other accompanying items here that can kind of make things a little bit more comfortable for you when you're out on the trail, campsite, or even truck or car camping. So let me just kind of dive in here, and I'm going to lay some of these things out kind of one by one and go through and just share a few of my thoughts on them, because sometimes it is kind of hard when you're thinking about being as comfortable as possible when you're out on the trail or camping anywhere for that matter, even if you do have a cot. But the best place to start is, kind of the comfort that is actually going to be touching your body. All right, let's just start right here. This is old school. This is my, I don't know if it's like 20, 25 years old. As you can kind of see here, sorry it's upside down, but Coleman Sleeping Bag. So it is a, cloth material. This has been through, campouts, sleepovers, the kids' camps as they've gone through school. So I've had this forever, and it's durable, and overall we really like it. If you can kind of see here, which I'm going to lay out here in just a minute, is to kind of show you, kind of some of the insides and what have you. But one of the things to kind of show you here is I have a kind of something that you use for luggage. But if you can kind of see here that this sucker's about 7 pounds. So it's kind of a beast as far as, backpacking goes. It is anything but ultralight. It is anything but easy to pack. So, this thing here is, just shy of, probably, almost a couple feet high. So, and, considerably wide here, if you can kind of see according to, size of my hand. But this guy's big, and let me just kind of lay it out here for you just a moment so that way you can kind of see. All right, as you can see here, as I've got this all laid out, this nice thing about having an island here is it was a little hard to do this outside today as I would have liked, but the neighborhood kids are taking advantage of the beautiful weather, and it's a little noisy outside. So anyway, the inside of this does have kind of almost a flannel type of a fabric to it, so it is very comfortable. If you can kind of see here, it's got some good thickness to it. The one downside about this too is a lot of times in trying to unzip this, it will catch the fabric. So a lot of times on these, older models, the zippers can be a little cumbersome and stick. The inside of this, and I think I had like a little tear on this guy here, which is the unfortunate part. But if you can kind of see here, it is weathered and does have some mileage, but it does have kind of a synthetic feel to it. It's definitely not down. So anyway, but if you are going to schlep this around the back of a car, a truck, or send something with your kids to sleepovers, this guy's been a charm, and again, it's been around for about half my life. So anyway, it's a good one to have, and so, but if you're going to throw it on your back and schlep it around for a bit, 7 pounds, and the size of this thing can be a bit cumbersome. All right, now this guy here, this is one of my Walmart specials. Since I have, 2 kids, right now one's in college, but at some point when they do sleepovers, I like to have a couple on hand. That's where this guy came in. It was like $9.99 on sale. It is not part of the Ozark Trail Walmart camping brand, but just some random house goods. Again, $9, $10 special. So let me see. I've got the scale here, and if you can kind of see there, it registers just about 3 pounds or so. So it's not overly heavy, but again, too, is it's not light. The size could make it cumbersome if you were trying to pack this anywhere other than truck or car camping. So, but anyway, let me open this up and kind of give you another little peek a little further. Okay, as I've got this opened up now, as you can kind of see, is it has a different color lining on the inside. It is a polyester fiberfill. It does have some nice thickness to it, but that again too does kind of parlay itself into a little bit of bulk when you do try to cinch it up. I haven't had a lot of trouble with the zipper catching, but I did remember at one time in the middle of the night that the zipper, you can kind of kick it down if your foot gets caught in there, open it up, and I couldn't for the life of me get it back up until the morning because it was catching. So it does have the potential and can be frustrating. So I don't know, and I'm not going to drag out the tape measure right now to say exactly how long this is. The width itself, by the comparison here, it's a good size. I'm just about 6 foot tall, and it worked out fine for me. The one thing here too is it just has these non-adjustable elastic straps. So the downside with that is these things can kind of wear out, and you can kind of already see they're showing little signs of wear. But if you do want to kind of keep it rolled up, those things can kind of give. But again, for $9.99 for sleepovers, for just an occasional camper. But again, you don't have to spend a lot of money. But then again, some of these you have to look at as far as bulk and carry, or even if you keep it in kind of like a get home or bug out bag type of scenario, you can spend a little bit, but they're going to take up space in your bag or your truck or your trunk. So anyway, it's just an option as far as that goes. All right, staying on theme with some of my Walmart purchases. This guy here, I think I got for like $29.99, inexpensive. This is the, if you can see here, the Ozark Trail 40 degree, and it does have the measurements there with 75 and 33 inches. So rectangular. I like this shape of bag. So nice thing is, you can see, as it comes with a nice cinch compression, system on the outside of it here too. And just to show you, as far as the weight on this guy, again, this is not a digital scale, but just to kind of show you here, just barely weighs 16 ounces here, or just under a pound. So let me open this up and just show you a little bit more here about the Ozark Trail. All right, now I've got the Ozark Trail opened up here, laying out on the island. The first nice thing I like is it does have kind of the zipper protector with Velcro here, so that way you can kind of, keep it protected while it's closed. It is relatively thin in nature, so it is, kind of 40 degree, not a lot of, depth or fill to this, but it is comfortable. The nice thing is too is that this will unzip all the way around and open up almost like a quilt. It does have the ability to kind of cinch it up on the top, so if you do, not necessarily make it like a mummy bag, but you can kind of, gather this in for a little bit cooler temperatures to trap in body heat. But overall, aside from the Ohio State Buckeye colors, it is nice. They do have a few different color options, but for just around 30 bucks. The nice thing I like about this is I do keep it in my truck. It's one that I keep in my gearbox, just to have in case, I do need it for an OSU football game. But if it's something on the road, I can layer this one up, which I'll show you here in a moment, a couple of the options that I keep close by. So that way, as if I needed something that would fit actually in a get home bag, a small stuff bag, or what have you, this adds to a little bit more portability options, and it's one that I kind of keep around or close by. Okay, now we're on to my next sleeping bag here, which I got off Amazon. This one was it's by, as you can see, Tough Outdoors. So I got this one. This one, I believe, goes from, like they claim, anywhere from 32 degrees up to 60 degrees. I don't know why the variable, but I would say is it's done me well in about 40 degree weather. I haven't done anything deeper than that yet, but I was plenty toasty warm. So, and this ranges from about, they said adults up to about 6'6". So anyway, let's open it up and see what we got inside here. And just one thing I wanted to share with you here too is if you can kind of see on the scale, it just registers in for the Tough Outdoors just under 3 pounds. So again, this one's not too cumbersome for the amount of bulk, and heck, it's not too bad. Again, it's just about 13, maybe 14 inches when cinched up in the compression sack. I could squeeze it in a little bit more so, but that's about basically what you get. Okay, so I got the Tough Outdoors opened up here. Again, this was only a $40 sleeping bag, so I've really enjoyed this one. They claim it's a ripstop, and now if you can kind of look close here, it's kind of hard to see. It doesn't look like a standard ripstop material that I've seen before on most of my other gear, but again, that's what they claim. So for now, I'll kind of buy into that. You can see it's also got, again, the Velcro closure here. They claim that it has kind of the no-stick zipper system. I like that it's got the little pull on it. I've had really no problem with it. It's easy to open here, if you can kind of even see if I just need to use my hands. The other nice thing is right up here by the top is they've got this little pouch that you can use for keys or a phone if you want to keep them nearby. I like that feature on a sleeping bag. So again, I'm not trying to sell on the ones that I have, but just some of the features. This one's nice and wide. What I do like up top here is it does have kind of almost like a mummy system top to it, but I like to use a pillow whenever possible. So I've got a couple that I'll show you here in a moment, but this kind of keeps them from sliding off, whether or not you use this up around your head in typical mummy fashion, or you like to use a pillow. This keeps it from getting away and sliding to the front of my tent or all over the place or along the ground, what have you. But overall, I really appreciate, this sleeping bag has been one of my favorites thus far. Not too cumbersome. It's just about over 13, almost 14 inches. When you do put it in the stuff sack. It's got a compression sack and fits in the bottom of my backpack in the backpack slot for it, dedicated space. So I've really enjoyed it. There are some that are thinner and cheaper or more expensive, but for the money on this guy here, again too, as you can kind of see, upside down here, but this hasn't led me wrong. And again, I got it off of Amazon. All right, the next one I'm going to discuss is my, if you can kind of barely see here, is the Teton, which is the Trailhead, registered to about 20 degrees Fahrenheit. And I've only had this down to about mid-low 40s and did really well from there. I haven't tested anything lower than that at this point. But let me go ahead and bring this out. First, let's go ahead and see what we've got, as they claim this to be an ultralight. So this guy, let me get her centered here, just weighs about 2 pounds. So not too bad. And if you can kind of see here, the bulk on it will fit in the bottom of most backpacks. Again, you can always cinch it to the underneath, but it's got some, a little bit of bulk to it, nothing that's too cumbersome. So let's go ahead and open it up and we'll take a peek. All right, everybody, as you can kind of see here as I've opened this up, sorry, you can look upside down, but it is the Trailhead plus 20 degree Fahrenheit by Teton. So nice colors. I mean, it's not horrible. It's definitely not camouflage. So if you need to be found, you can use it for signaling too. But as you can see here, it is a mummy style, and it does also have a little extra play here for your feet. So let's just kind of start from the top here. It does have kind of the easy zip. It's got the protection right here, so that way the zipper will not catch, or if so, not as easily. It hadn't caught on me yet. It's got the Velcro cinch up here. The nice thing, what I had mentioned before, is I like having this type of pocket up close, so that way if you do need a flashlight, cell phone, keys, or what have you, right up here by the top. It's got the cinchable mummy style, which also is good if you do like to sleep with a pillow. The one thing I did find out about mummy style is I like to kind of splay out a little bit when I'm sleeping. So being always kind of, mummified, did kind of get to me at some point, as I did end up opening this completely up so that way I could kind of kick my feet out. I found out real quick in most situations, if I had to, definitely it was absolutely comfortable. I enjoyed it. I just don't like my feet being bound like this, even though, your feet can kind of move together. But my preference, I found, is more of a rectangle. So I've got this if necessary, but unless I need this for just a one-man very small tent, for trail hiking or something of that nature, I prefer the rectangle. But this in and of itself as a sleeping bag you know, with kind of the ripstop. It's very, very soft inside here. It's very comfortable. Highly recommend looking into it. I know they do have options here, but again, by you know, Teton Sports. I like the bag and I like the equipment, so it's definitely one to check out. It's just a matter of if you like mummy style or not. Okay, this guy here that I'm going to open up in just a moment is did not come in the stuff sack. It is not a typical sleeping bag. This is where I kind of deviate, or at least throw down some options. So this stuff sack I just got off Amazon for a couple bucks. But let me go ahead and open this up, and I'll kind of show you another option or addition to some of the other guys that I've just shown you here a couple moments ago. Okay, what I have here is actually a military poncho liner. So these are supposed to go on the inside of ponchos for colder climate, colder weather, and to keep the wearer warm. But a lot of people use these for survival, actual sleep options. So if you can kind of see here, this opens up into a, you know, a nice size, you know, blanket in and of itself. It is quilted. I'm not sure the actual fill on it, and right now, as I don't have my glasses, so I can't read that. But what is nice about it is a lot of times I will just throw this over top of another sleeping bag, since I keep this in my truck, or we'll throw it in my truck from time to time, depending on the climate. But it is kind of nice because also, if you can see here, is you can tie these, cinch these guys down here and make it into almost like a sleep sack. Now, if you thrash around when you sleep, I wouldn't want to trust these because it could actually maybe tear them. But again, as it could kind of help secure it, they're meant to kind of secure it to the poncho. But you could secure it shut, you know, down along this area. It doesn't have anything on either one of the ends. But this thing has really kept me warm in some cold climates just by throwing this over top, not even wrapping around it. One thing I'm going to try, though, is with my hammock is, instead of getting kind of an underquilt, is to tie these things onto the side and kind of use this as my, you know, buffering underquilt. And I'm going to try to attach it. I've got an Eno double nest that I want to use it for, is by just taking the side of the hammock, kind of holding a, if you've ever seen where they use a marble and then tie it around, so that way you've got this little knot on the outside. I can kind of tie these around that too, so that way I don't have to alter this or my hammock. When I do that, I'll make a video of that. But I'm going to give this a shot too, to see if it'll work for that case. But in any instance, just as a blanket, as a quilt, or something to throw over top of your existing sleep system, or just to cover over top of your hammock, this guy here, a poncho liner, or as a lot of people like to call them, as a whoopee, that people are not really sure where that came from, whether or not it's kind of a nod to Mr. Mom, or, you know, other sources. But you know, I highly recommend it. I got this at a place here in Columbus, Ohio called General Merchandise. I think you can look them up online, but I think I got it for like 40 bucks. If you ever go to a gun show or Army surplus store, they're rather prolific. You can find it, but this one was in like some of the best shape that I'd found them too. Plus the camo print's kind of nice to have as well. Okay, one thing I didn't show here is the weight of the whoopee is just barely registers over just about a pound. So it is really light, and the stuff sack that I've got it in did not come with it. So I recommend that, just because it is kind of a nylon-y material. It likes to come unraveled, or get yourself kind of a Velcro cinch. But, you know, about a pound is no weight really whatsoever. All right, next item to show, I didn't even bother to leave it rolled up here, is simply enough wool blanket. You can't go wrong with having a wool blanket. If you can see here, you know, it's, you know, not quite an eighth quarter of an inch, but the warmth in these is absolutely unbelievable. This is another thing that a lot of times I will just throw over top of my sleeping bag, or if I'm in a tent, have one that I can use as kind of a neck roll, but if it does get cold, just unroll it and throw it over top of you. You know, even doubled up, and this is doubled over, as you can kind of see here. Nice length to it. I don't know what I've got here is about, you know, our island, I think is 9 feet long, but you know, it's about 8 feet long, doubled over. You could use this kind of as a wrap type, like a sleeping bag. I always keep one of these in my truck. They're nice to have just in case, you know, we've used them for football games and, you know, things of that nature, but just for an emergency blanket. They don't take up a lot of space, but I highly recommend them. You can get them off of Amazon, Army surplus, You know, they're rather easy to find. I got them from kind of a survival place. I can't remember what the name of it was offhand, but you know, two of them for like, I forget, 10, 15 bucks. So they're easy to find. I suggest everybody kind of have one. They may not be the most, you know, comfortable, like if you just wanted to throw for your couch. I mean, there's things that are thicker and there's Sherpa blankets, but it's not real itchy, and so it feels really good if it does get up against your skin. But recommend getting yourself a couple of these to have in a closet, but definitely in a car or a survival kit. Now for the wool blanket, the weight on that, as you can see here again too, and this is not a digital scale, but you know, barely registers even a pound on this guy too. So, you know, these things in and of themselves are very light. So that's why you can actually kind of roll this up in with a sleeping bag. May add a little bit of bulk to your bag, but it'll actually really enhance your sleep system, especially if you're hiking or backpacking. All right, now this little guy here is the one that kind of inspired what I'm doing here today. I was at Costco and I saw another gentleman, I can't recall his channel right now, but he goes by the moniker Frozen. But he was just sharing these guys here. This is actually a quilt, and since I just bought it here about an hour ago, it's a packable down throw by Double Black Diamond. If you can see, 700 fill powered down. I believe they claim duck perhaps, but not sure. 60 by 70 inch, ultra lightweight with the stuff sack. So let's kind of take a peek here, and we'll see the weight, and I'll unravel it here and just kind of show you what I enjoyed about this guy. Okay, on the Double Black Diamond, if you can kind of see here on the scale, doesn't even move the needle. So it's under a pound according to this. Now, like I said, it's not digital, so just wanted to kind of show you here that this guy is very, very light. So with what they say is being, you know, ultra light down here, they stand true to their claim. All right, now this is the quilt that is unfolded here. Now, if you can see what they claim is, you know, what was it? Let's see here. 60 by 70. So again, I would say that this may be a little shorter than you would want for like a, you know, kind of sole reliance on a camping scenario. What I did like is that this quilt here, and I just unrolled it so it hasn't had a chance to kind of start to fluff up. You can kind of start to see it puff up a little bit here. But it is very, very soft. I think as an addition to one of the items that I'd, you know, used over here, that it would be great. But for 19 bucks, I mean, when you're finding things that maybe just by getting a couple inches, it's kind of hard to see here, but it doesn't look ripstop. You know, it does have a decent, you know, kind of decent stitching to it. But some of the others that I have felt, for as light as this guy is, and again, this is, you know, doubled over right now. I think it was worth the 19 bucks. I mean, heck, I could buy, you know, 10 of them for what it would cost another. Obviously, you do have color options. You can kind of see on the wall, my wife likes purple, so I did that. So this one we can have in the house. So when I sit around and watch Game of Thrones or what have you, I can snuggle up to it. I got a silver one for the back of my truck. And I had this little slot by the back seat that, you know, is basically about as big as what it would take to, you know, hold maybe a couple of those small umbrellas. I was able to stuff it in there. So just in case somebody were on a long trip or you need it for a survival scenario, one of these in conjunction with my wool blanket. And again, I've got a sleeping bag always kind of packed up too for spontaneous camping or survival. That, you know, I think it's pretty well covered. But, you know, I'm going to give this a shot tonight, season finale of Game of Thrones. So I'm going to kind of see how warm this guy keeps me. But again, for $19.99, you can't go wrong with it. And again, it does feel very comfortable. Or to throw it just in a hammock, summer camping scenarios. So I'm going to give this probably take it with me here on my next, you know, camping trip. I'm trying to plan one down to Wayne National Forest if my life will allow me to get out of here. But I said life, not wife. She's real supportive. But other than that, great buy. Grab 2 of them. May go back and get a couple more, just even for the kids to have in their room. So anyway, well done. Okay, these are finally the last couple things I get into are some options and or additions as well. If you can kind of see here, this is a sleeping bag liner. I wasn't really familiar, never used one up until recently here, but just sometimes in the warmer months, we're still in August right now here in Ohio, and it can get rather hot and steamy. But just even to protect the inside of a sleeping bag from just body dirt, sweat or what have you, because this guy's a lot easier to wash than it is to wash one of your sleeping bags. But just sometimes too, if you want to just have something light over top of you, if you can kind of see here, this guy is only, just 8.35 ounces, 100% polyester, and, give some washing instructions here too. But I could say this guy feels almost like using a satin sheet for, those of you who are old enough to remember waterbeds and satin sheets, man, they're cool. But let me open this up here and just kind of give you an idea of what this little guy's all about. If you can see by the size of my hand, it does not take up any gear space. You could use this, by itself. It would keep you, warmer than having nothing, but just sometimes too as an addition, or if you just want to throw it in a, glove box of your car, console, or, something to add to, get home bag, a bug out bag or something of that nature, but just for a camping edition. It's kind of nice to have. This thing I got off of Amazon. I think it was just shy of $17, so you can get them very expensive. I've seen them at REI for a lot more, but basically when it comes down to it, depending on the mileage you're going to use it, if you are going to hike the AT, you may want to invest in a little bit more, but just to have it random for every now and then, this guy's done well for me at 17 bucks. All right, now that I've got the sleeping bag liner opened up, you can see here by the size of my island, this thing's about as wide and almost as long as about anything I've shown you today. So, not bad as far as size goes. If you can see here too, is it's got kind of like a little opening, almost like a mummy bag would have. It's stitched to about here, so it does create kind of a little bit of a pocket. So if you do want to slide a pillow up and under there, it will cover your pillow, keep it from kind of escaping out the front of the bag or sliding all over your tent. It also has kind of these little Velcro cinch areas here too to kind of keep it secure. But it does come across almost like a sleeping bag. So you can kind of get creative with this, or if you just wanted something instead of kind of going with nothing at all, say in a hammock, but it is versatile because it does basically fit in the palm of your hand. You do have a lot of options for carry. Like I didn't even bother to weigh it because it did say just 8.35 ounces. There you go. So this one's Dimples XL, again, one of those kind of random odd Amazon brands that you can find, but I've enjoyed it thus far. And if you do want to kind of step up and spend 50, 60 bucks, and that's okay with your budget, then you can step up to the REI, Cabela's, Field and Stream, that kind of a thing too. But for something like this, nice little addition, and will kind of beef up your sleep system. Okay, this is another additional kind of a comfort item, just like the sleeping bag liner. This is as you can see, the Field and Stream, this is a camping pillow. I got this, I think these were at the time on sale for just under $10, but I got a couple of them, one for myself and for my son. They're really good for car trips, camping as well, obviously. But, if you can kind of see here, is it's, about the size of a loaf of bread, maybe a little bit smaller, but not too bad. Just to kind of show you here as far as, the weight of it, it doesn't even really move the needle. So just under a pound, I would say. Again, I'm not, doing a through hike or anything of the AT to where, I'm shaving down 0.01 ounces. So, just under a pound is very light. Let me go ahead and just kind of open it up and show you what these guys look like on the inside. All right, here's the Field and Stream pillow. If you can kind of see, it's got, a decent thickness to it. Kind of maintains, it's kind of like a polyfiber fill. It doesn't get lumpy, but sometimes too, as you can kind of, you need to kind of fluff it up a little bit so that way too, is that your head doesn't kind of push things to the side. For $9, you can't beat it. If you like kind of a softer fabric, you've got this side. I think it's supposed to kind of help it be a little less skid. Doesn't really do that, especially if you're in kind of a nylon type of a tent. This side's a little softer here. But anyway, these guys are great for like $9 or $10. I think they're good, but also too is if you travel a lot, sometimes with your family, just throw them in the back of your car. Wish I would have had these on my road trip from Ohio to Alabama recently. because just like an airplane, they don't take up a lot of space. You can kind of fold them up, or use it as a neck roll, or just kind of curl up against something. But as far as camping, using it for your hammock, especially if you're saving space by carrying a hammock, these guys make a nice little addition, and they're well worth it. All right, last but not least, this is my Sea to Summit Arrows pillow. This is the premium large. This guy, I'm not going to even bother weighing it because it is super ultra light. It's got a little, little way you can kind of attach it here, as well as, where is it? Also in through here too if you have a carabiner. But let me go ahead and open this guy up for you here and show you what this is all about. But especially if you don't have a lot of space, you're backpacking, or even again to keep it in the vehicle, or for a survival scenario, if you're carrying like a bivvy, you want this, and then just an emergency blanket. You could have an entire sleep system that would fit inside of a Pringles can. So may give me an idea there. Okay, if you can kind of see with the Sea to Summit here blown up. The one thing I will say is I like to keep it a little underinflated. It works well. It's got the nice curvature, so that way it fits up against your shoulder. It's not a bad size to it. Just probably a little over a foot and a couple inches. It is soft. It doesn't have kind of a nylon-y feel, but let me be quiet for a minute and let you hear. It's got some sound to it. So the one thing I did find is, just because of the nature of the way it's made on the inside, it does have kind of a crinkly effect. I have yet to figure out how to kind of blow this thing up to where if I did want it completely full, I think I'd have to have some sort of equipment. So I cannot recall what I spent on this, but I know it's considerably more expensive than the other thing. Maybe 30 bucks, maybe, give or take. But I did like the larger. But for something like the mummy bag or some of the others, it's not bad. But sometimes the sound can kind of get to some people. It's not that bad, especially if you've been hiking, you're tired, that won't mean a thing. But again, it's very comfortable, very soft, and again, the Sea to Summit. All right, everybody, I hope you got a few ideas or inspiration in some of the things I shared with you, in some of the things that I've accumulated or use whenever I do some of my outdoor adventures. Again, just if you were to try to get something for your kids, or you're going to be doing car camping, some of these bigger, bulkier items and the less expensive are okay. I still like the Tough Outdoors. I know there's more expensive brands out there, but if I'm going to be able to spend like 30, 40 bucks and get all my needs filled, have something that's easy to secure, good size, I like that size. I like rectangle. I like kind of the mummy top to it, and I also like the ability to have storage up close if I do need a flashlight, a phone, or some keys or what have you. But this guy serves my needs. Found out, don't care much for mummy, so it's up for sale if anybody wants it. But I'll keep it around so that way it's for family members or what have you. Just to show you again, love having a whoopee, a wool blanket, as well as the quilt here. So these guys, I think, are good accompaniments to where on the other bags that you can add some colder weather options by just adding a few of these, or even in warmer weather if you want just a simple quilt, wool blanket. All these are good on their own, good for a hammock, good for survival, don't take up a lot of space in a car or truck for a bug out bag or what have you, or a gearbox. Good options to have and very inexpensive. I also think, sometimes just to have a pillow, no reason to totally rough it all the time. Yes, it takes up space. Yes, it adds weight to it. But like I said here, the scenarios I go through, I'm not helping somebody plan for a through hike of the AT or, the PCT or something of that nature. That's not what this is about. And finally, what I keep like for a truck or a gear option, I like the smaller sleeping bag. I will also have the liner that I kept, the sleeping bag liner, as an option in there sometimes, and as well as having a pillow option. But for the most part, I will carry this sleeping bag, a pillow, and I also always have a wool blanket, and I also have now, as of my trip this morning to Costco, is to have a quilt in the car. So I have options for multiple people, or also for myself to have, available if, it did come down to where, I need, some options if I needed, to get home or just was stranded on the side of the road. So again, thanks for watching. If you like this, please like, share, or subscribe. But I hope to have more gear options in the future. And I was just inspired today by my trip, and, hope you enjoyed it. So thanks so much.